Good evening, and thank you for everyone for joining us today. My name is Jerry Shallow, President and CEO of the Rancho Regional Chamber of Commerce, and we are on our forum for Sandoval County Sheriff. With Sandoval County Sheriff, we have two candidates. We have the incumbent, Jesse James Casaus, who chose not to participate. We have the challenger with us today, Daryl Keith Elder. So we look forward to asking Mr. Elder some questions about the role that he is asking for you to vote on for sheriff of Sandoval County. So we're going to get right into it. So on this forum, you've got 2 minutes for your opening. We'll have 2 minutes per question and 1 minute for the closing. With that, 2 minutes on your opening.
Okay, thank you, Jerry. And I thank the Chamber for hosting this event and for the audience that actually stayed. I've got some folks to visit with. I'm Daryl Keith Elder. I started my law enforcement career in 1984 with the New Mexico State Police. I was employed with the state police for 22 years, retired as a sergeant in internal affairs. I served in various locations throughout the state, from an area the size of Santa Fe to an area the size of Vaughn. So many thousands of people to a few thousand people. In every one of those towns that I worked in, I believed in community policing. That community policing translated to me being involved in my community in some form or fashion. My wife and I were asked to be prom chaperones in Vaughn. We lived in Santa Rosa. I was asked to get on the chamber board. When we lived in Socorro, I was a part of the charter school board. So all these towns that I've lived in, I have served not just as a law enforcement capacity, but in a public forum type capacity. That was the public service aspect. Since I retired from the state police, I went to work for the sheriff's office. I continue that law enforcement career serving the public. But in addition to that, I served on the county fair board. I assisted the community of Cuba in getting a parade permit every year so that we could stay in compliance with the requirements of DOT. So my philosophy about being a candidate for office is public service first, give to the public second. Give more than what you expect to get in return.
Thank you, Mr. Elder. All right, so very first question is Sandoval County Sheriff's Department. What do you think needs to be, if you were the sheriff, what would you change and why?
First off, the why part. One of the things I learned in math when I was asked a question why was because. Because foremost. Because there's a lot of areas in this county that are under patrolled. In the last 4 years, they've never seen a deputy. Because children need to be safe in their schools. One, their parents don't need to fear that they're going to come to harm. And then second is because the kids in school are feared that they're going to be harmed by another student. Another is the caretaking of this community to serve everybody fairly and equally, to be available to the public. As sheriff, I intend to go to work every day. I intend to be available to the constituents every day. All they'll be required to do is make a phone call, send an email. That's the business cards I have will be made public. It'll be made public on the county website. I will be accessible to the constituents that I serve.
Thank you, Mr. Elder. The next question I have is Sandoval County is a very large county, and crime in New Mexico is increasing. Sandoval County really touches a number of counties that are seeing an increase in crime. If you're sheriff, what would you do to make sure that Sandoval County crime stays low?
Goes back to community policing. If you are in the areas of the and you get out and you talk to your constituents. And this is something I know to be true. I was not able to go to the grocery store and not be gone too long, like an hour. My wife's wondering where I was, and it's because I ran into somebody that needed some help. As the sheriff, I'm going to get the deputies to get out of their cars, to get into a convenience store, to know who their constituents are, the people they serve. Go into the community centers. See the folks that go to those community centers and talk to them and find out what's the issues or what's going on with them. We need to know what the people's concerns are so that we can address them and we can serve them in that fashion. If we know that crime is being committed in a particular part of the county, let's target that part of the county. We can put deputies in that part, do traffic enforcement, and patrol the residential areas. Traffic enforcement gets us out of the car and in touch with that violator to know who that person is. Knowing who your residents are when you see them at the mailbox. Stop and say hello to them. You don't have to become best friends, but you need to know who they are and how you can best serve them.
Thank you, Mr. Elder. All right, next question is, Sandoval County being such a large county, there's a number of areas throughout the county that don't see police force or sheriff's department personnel coming out on a consistent basis. Two parts of this question. What would you do to change that to make sure Sandoval County Sheriff's Department is more visible? And second part is do we have enough officers?
Let me answer the second one first. I don't think we've got enough officers, and that's wholly on the growth of the county. Sandoval County is growing, and when the population grows, so do a lot of other problems grow. The crime increases. We know that to be true. Recently, Rancho was involved in 2 incidences that involved officer-involved shootings. Both perpetrators were from Albuquerque. They did a really good job working with Albuquerque and caught those 2. The second thing is, when you talk about needing law enforcement in specific areas of the county, I've been out and I've talked to the residents in San Pedro Creek. I've talked to residents in La Cueva. I've talked to residents in Cuba and North, and they all tell me the same thing. We never see a deputy unless the lights are on and they're going by at a high speed going to something. That has to change. Those folks are taxpayers just like the folks here in Rio Rancho and Bernalillo. They are entitled to that protection. They deserve that protection. And as a sheriff, I'm going to make sure they get that protection.
Thank you, Mr. Elder. So this question's a little tougher. This is a tough question. This is Sandoval County has a large population of Native Americans. You have the Pueblos, you have the Navajo Nation, you have Apache Nation out here. That being said, Native American women are the most victimized group in the nation when it comes to murder, rape, and assault. If you are sheriff, what would you do to support the efforts of the Native American community to reduce these women that are being victimized throughout not only our county, but throughout the United States? What could you do to make Sandoval County different?
Well, there's 2 components to that. First, we have to recognize the sovereignty of the Pueblos. But at the same time, we got to realize that they are county residents. They need assistance, just like if they lived in La Cueva or San Ysidro or down here closer to the Rio Grande Valley. With that being said, we can form a relationship with the tribal government or the nation's government. At the same time, form a partnership with their law enforcement and their investigative entities like the tribal police or the Pueblo police, BIA, Navajo police, the FBI. And currently, I still have some of those networking abilities because I was a graduate of Leadership Sandoval. And because I've had an extensive law enforcement career, I still talk to people at the FBI. I've got connections at DEA. So that being said, when something heinous like that happens to one of the ladies on the Pueblos or the nations, we respond to that. They are entitled to an investigation and a quality investigation. And we can start that investigation, and when the proper authority gets there, we can work alongside them, or if they want to assume control of that investigation, we can give them our documents and let them take that. But just to turn our backs on folks, we can't do that. And as the sheriff of the county, I won't do it.
Thank you. The next question I have for you is kind of associated with that, but looks at the overall county. Describe how you would approach your relationship as sheriff in Sandoval County with each of the communities, since we have such a diverse community, whether it's the city of Rio Rancho, town of Bernalillo, you have the village of Placitas, Corrales, and then you have Cuba. It's a very diverse county. How would you approach that with each community?
First off, I'm going to show up to work every day. Second off, these communities, some have police departments and some don't. We have to serve those communities that don't have their own police department. But at the same time, we have to form a partnership and work alongside those communities that do have a police force. And my conversation with several of the chiefs, including the fire chiefs, I keep hearing the same thing over and over again. The sheriff's office wants us to go outside our corporate limits and do things for them, but when we need the help, it doesn't exist. So these partnerships are paramount because together we form and gather intelligence, and we share that intelligence among the police officers. And when things are going on and we need help, then we're a team that goes out and serves that community.
Thank you, Mr. Elder. Finally, what makes you different from any other sheriff in the state of New Mexico? What makes you different, and why should Sandoval County voters vote for you?
I'm my own person. I have led by example. I've had experiences with the sheriff's office. I've been an administrator with the sheriff's office, so I have unique insight to the sheriff's office in Sandoval County. I don't believe in party as far as a law enforcement officer. That goes back to my New Mexico State Police days. We served everybody fairly and equally. We told, and we held our hand up, put our hand on the Bible, and swore to protect and defend this Constitution of the United States and that of the state of New Mexico, and to fairly and impartially enforce the laws in the state fairly. So what I would do is I'm going to go out and I'm going to meet with the leaders of the communities, the police chiefs, the fire chiefs, and form these partnerships. I am a believer in work ethic. Work until the work is done. I will show up to work every day. I will be accessible every day. And I don't think that that is a quality that sheriffs across the state share. I'll speak to the county commission honestly and directly and tell them what we need to be successful in the sheriff's office. We're going to ask for things, whether it's equipment or payment or whatever we need to make the sheriff's office one that attracts people to come to, like we had several years ago. I used to get, when I was a training and recruiting director, I had folks in the other law enforcement agencies looking to come to us. So, and I don't understand what needs to happen to make that go again, but here's the product is, we have the ability to do it. We just need to get out and do it.
Thank you. So finally, we're down to our closing. So you have 1 minute.
My 1 minute. First off, thanks for hosting, and I thank everybody for staying this late hour. It's starting to get a little long for you, I'm sure. I would encourage you to get out and vote on November. I encourage you to get out and vote on November 8th so I can serve you on January 1st. I would appreciate your vote. Darrell Keith Elder, Sandoval County Sheriff. Thank you.
Thank you, Darrell Keith Elder, for being with us today. Again, this was a forum, and current Sheriff Jesse James Casaus did not want to participate today. So I really appreciate you participating on public safety is a hugely important thing to consider in Sandoval County as we grow, and especially the number of things happening to the south of us right now. So I appreciate you being here today.
It's a pleasure to be here. Thanks for inviting.
So with that, as a reminder, November 8th, get out and vote. From the chamber standpoint, if you missed us on Facebook Live, you'll be able to catch it on the chamber's website starting next week. And then it'll also be on KDSK radio on Sundays beginning next week. So with that, thank you all so much for attending.